we need to, you know, adapt to these uncertain situations every now and then.
And in Israel, you are in post-COVID, no? Don't need more to use the mask. Don't need more to use mask.
We are in post-COVID. The situation is really good here because of the vaccination. So I think that 70% of the population is vaccinated already. And we use masks only inside stores or in closed areas, but on the street and in events, we have already cultural events happening for people who are either vaccinated or have a negative test. So yes, life here is almost as before, almost, in terms of COVID, but now we have this. So.
Brazil, we are waiting for this with vaccination. We think, and in Rio Grande do Sul is the best city to the vaccination in the first time in vaccination here in Brazil.
Wow.
But we need more. We need more vacinas. We need more. But maybe we'll.
Excuse me, I'll just close the window because the birds are interfering. Okay, we have a garden here. Just let me just close the window before we start.
All right. Ela vai fechar a janela então antes da gente.
Eu vou começar, né? Ela já anunciou que começou a transmissão. Fica por ti agora, Rodrigo.
O William, ele tá na sala. Deixa eu procurar ele aqui. Tá.
That's it. That's it. So, but you said about the vaccination, but I mean, Brazil is huge in terms of population. So how will that work?
It's not easy. You have more than 2 million people here, almost 200 million people. So it's a lot of people to be vaccinated at one time. So even though we got some delay getting the vaccines, now we're getting another delay time, given to the fact that the production of the vaccines is taking too long. We need to import material from China, material from other countries, and it's not easy because it gets delayed, and we still have the time to produce the vaccines. So some of our population are already at the second dose. Some are waiting for the second dose, but we still have a big number of people that needs to be vaccinated for the first dose so far. So it's a long process in Brazil because we still have some regions that it's hard to access, like Amazon. You know, the north of Brazil, it's not easy to go. It's not like to vaccinate people in towns like south of Brazil, so São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, whatever. So it's not easy.
And the health service is very good here in Brazil, but we need, like Rodrigo said, we need the import the insumes to the vaccine, to produce the vaccine with China. This is our problem now. Don't have vaccines to vaccinate.
Yeah.
Yeah, at such a large scale, it's a big challenge. And you also need the operation throughout the country to deploy it. It's not just the manufacturing, but also the deployment of it, which is more difficult than in the United States, for example, where it's, okay, I understand. Yeah, that's the benefit of a small country. You see, with 9 million people here in Israel and a central healthcare system, it took 2 months to vaccinate almost all the relevant population. Yeah,
that's good. We are just assembling things here. Sorry, INBAL.
No worries. Okay, of course, take your time, of course.
Sorry for that. Okay, now Will is in the room. I think that we are all lined up. Just to introduce to you Marcia Capellari. She is the director of our Hub of Innovation and the IMED Foundation. And she was the one that she was very happy to have you here with us. She was the one that sent you an invitation. Okay, so she's representing the board, the dean of IMED here today. And also we have William Zanella, that is also part of the IMED dean. And they will be introducing himself in a few moments. Is just connecting and introduce IMED to all of the participants and welcome you as well.
Perfect. It's really nice to meet you, and thank you for contacting me.
Our pleasure. Okay, Williams on now. I will just speak in Portuguese just for a while to make sure that we are lined up.
Of course.
Okay, sorry for that. Ok. Então, gente, eu acho que a gente já está ao vivo. Já temos 79 participantes, né? Fora os... Então, bem-vindo a todos. E eu acho que a gente começa, então, com a apresentação do William. Depois eu posso... A Márcia, acho que quer falar alguma coisa também, Márcia, por favor. Por último, Eduardo, e a gente passa direto para a INBAL.
Good afternoon, INBAL, Eduardo, and colleagues. It's a pleasure to receive you at our institution to share your knowledge about entrepreneurship. Firstly, we sympathize with what happened in your country, and we hope that the situation will be resolved as soon as possible. Second, our institution has become possessed in the entrepreneurial ecosystem with a foundation for a new education. So we are looking forward to hear from you. Thanks in advice.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. I will make some introduction about the Hub of Innovation, okay? So let me share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so on behalf of IMED University, I would like to welcome Ms. Arielli for this special moment with us, talking about innovation. This event was organized by the Innovation Hub of IMED, together with INNA and Lidera. So about IMED. IMED was founded in 2002. IMED developed and connects people to the new world reality through the pillars of entrepreneurship, innovation, and transformation of science and technology into opportunities for the corporate world. With units in Porto Alegre and Passo Fundo, southern Brazil, IMED operates in the areas of undergraduate, postgraduate, master, and doctorate degrees. Since 2006, the IMED Foundation has been promoting social impact, developing entrepreneurship programs, and contributing to the regional ecosystem growth. Lidera's Association of Entrepreneurs Woman mission is to impulse the culture of female entrepreneurship, creating connections and develop soft skills with an emphasis on the leadership and innovation. Our initiatives of success: basic education, educational transformation programs such as Your Future and Programming Literacy, conducted in partnership with the Ayrton Senna and JAMA Institute and several other companies. Postgraduate degrees, specializations, masters, and doctorates that aim to solve real problems of society. Graduate degrees with the pillars of innovation, entrepreneurship, and management. IMED has courses in the areas of business, health, polytechnic, law, and agrarian. Incorporate business transforming solutions through the Innovation Hub, Business Alliance, applied research, and executive educational program. So IMED undergraduate degrees, we have, as mentioned before, business, health, polytechnic, law, and agrarian schools. Postgraduated lato sensus, we have the MBAs, specializations, and executive educational programs. And is postgraduate scritto sensus, we have master's and doctorate degrees in business, law, health, and polytechnic schools. Our IMED Foundation, through the Innovation Hub, we're incorporating transformation through innovation technology. And in the north of Rio Grande do Sul, our state, we have the Business Alliance, business program designed by entrepreneurs to build innovative solutions and generate new business opportunities. So our impact numbers, we have more than 3,000 low-income basic education students trained, more than 10,000 professional trained in undergraduate and graduate programs, more than 250 graduated master degrees, more than 130 scientific researchers and 3,500 publications, more than 50 SMS mentored through the Amplifica program, more than 100 public schools trained, more than or almost 300 teachers trained in agile and innovative methodologies, more than 67 cities impacted by our educational programs, and a 15 billion revenue, it's in reais, our Brazilian currency, more than 21,000 jobs created by the North Business Alliance companies, and plus more than 2,000 companies created by IMED alumni. So once again, this is our partners that give support to our company, to our university, and also to the Hub of Innovation. And so in behalf of IMED Board of Directors, I would like to thank you everyone for attending this lecture, especially INBAL Arielli for accepting this kind invitation. And now I'll let Eduardo Gross to conduct the program. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rodrigo. Thanks, William. Nice to meet you, INBAL Arielli. I will make just a little speech because we want to hear you, INBAL. First, I would like to thank Marcia Capellari on behalf of IMED and Leader Association for the opportunity to present a little bit of the Israel innovation ecosystem. I'm sure that our guest, INBAL Arielli, will leave us with an immense desire to continue this journey of experience exchange between Brazil and Israel. I would like to thank the presence of the director of Barilã University in Brazil, Marcelo Spritzer, with whom we are already seeing some exchange possibilities for IMED. My partner, Izio Rosenthal, who helps me in the relationship with Israel, and my partner, Gianni Miron, resident in Israel, who teach a methodology based on social skills and human connections that we are willing to bring to Brazil. Talking about Israel, I like a phrase that defines the brand of this country. The Israeli experience is not just being a startup nation, but also being a people nation, a fascinating human mosaic that connects diversity, innovation, and tradition. With a smaller size than the states of Sergipe here in Brazil, with 60% of desert territory, surrounded by geopolitical conflicts, with a very small internal market, Israel has a population between 9 or 10 million inhabitants, formed mostly by immigrants who came from different cultures, values, and lifestyles. And in addition to the challenge of living together in diversity, they are completely open to taking risks and contribute with their different visions and ways of thinking to simulate the out-of-the-box look that we seek to innovate. In Israel, innovation was the economic solution found to convert a diversity into disruptive and global solutions. Investing heavily in education, the lever for the success of innovation is related to the maturation of young people before they become entrepreneurial, and the triple alliance formed by university, private, and public authorities. More than disruptive technology invented Israel, such as pendrive, Waze, Netafim, Mobileye, and others. What enchants us in Israel is the system created in the last year that transformed this country into startup nation. In addition, leave it to INBAL Arielli to tell us. The Brazilian market has been shown to be open to disruptive innovation brought by startups from the most different areas of activity. This trend has opened space for development of fintechs, agritechs, health techs, edtechs, among others, which have a lot to gain by connecting with the Israeli innovation ecosystem. It is a reference with which Brazil can learn in order to become a solid and confident country. We can understand what they do, adapt to best practice to the Brazilian scenario, and innovating with Israel. Mr. INBAL Arielli, you're welcome. I have an excellent event. And to begin our chat, I would like to know more about you. Who is INBAL Arielli?
So thank you very much, Eduardo. And hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Welcome to my home in Tel Aviv, the largest city in Israel. For us, it's 7:30 p.m. or around 7:45 p.m. here in the evening. And I'm very happy to be with you. So who is INBAL Arielli? And maybe the best place, right, to present myself is in my home. I'm 46 years old. I'm born and raised here in Israel. My mother immigrated from Poland. My father immigrated from Egypt. And to your, short description about Israel, this is an example on people coming from completely different places around the world to build their home here in Israel. I'm the mother of 3 boys of the ages of 19, 16, and 12. And I've spent my entire career in the Israeli tech ecosystem. Before joining the tech ecosystem here in Israel, which I will tell you about in a second, I also served for 5 years in the Israeli military. Like all Israelis, we all serve in the military, men and women. We have a mandatory military service of, on average, 3 years. But in special units, like the one I served in, we sometimes do a more extended service. So I'm a former lieutenant in the Israeli Intel unit, very well known in the world as a very innovative unit. It's called 8200. A lot of Israeli tech startups are actually coming out from that unit. And since I finished my military service, I graduated from law and economics, and later on did also my MBA, all here in the Tel Aviv University, and became a tech entrepreneur myself. My current company is called Synthesis, and it is a leadership assessment company. So what we actually do is we assess C-level executives and board members in companies at different stages, and we focus on their leadership capabilities. And maybe most importantly to our conversation here, I'm also the author of a book called Chutzpah, Why Israel is a Global Hub of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And Chutzpah actually tells the story of the Israeli childhood before the military, but it's a business book. And you may ask yourself, what's the connection between Israeli childhood and a business book which was published in the United States by one of the world's largest publishers? So I won't answer this question yet, and I'll keep it for the rest of our conversation, but try to think what could be the connections between childhood and business, focusing on soft skills.
Eduardo. Based on your book, I guess we have some questions for you now. Let me just grab the questions. Or I don't know if Eduardo wants to ask another question that's already prepared, but We have a question here that is related to the woman entrepreneurship. What was the trigger point that was considered the most important trigger point, or the trigger points for this culture, for this innovative culture started in Israel? That's one of the audience questions.
Okay. So it's actually, I don't think there was, or there is one specific moment that stands out. I think that when we look at the history of modern Israel and the actual present, okay, so not just the history, but the history, the present, and also the future, looking ahead, there's a common thread here. Israel, like you said, is a very, very small country. Small in size, small in population, small or limited in resources, and surrounded, okay, or if you want, isolated from markets around it because of geopolitical reasons. Now, given all these elements together, and the fact that modern Israel was built only 73 years ago, that's it, by people who came to Israel with the idea to build something, to start something. So they were entrepreneurs, all of them. Immigrants, by the way, everywhere in the world are considered to be entrepreneurs just by the fact that they move from one country to the other, okay? They take risks, they start all over, and many times actually in business, okay? Creating income and revenues for themselves. And so the whole story of Israel, on one hand, is a story of a startup nation, but not because of technology, just because the fact that the country itself is a young country. Now, add to that the fact that the challenges that the Israeli population, the Israeli government, the Israeli military, the Israeli society had to encounter in the past 70 years were very meaningful, very big challenges. And like we said, with limited resources, just like a startup. So, you know, we say for early stage startups that we want them to bootstrap before they get funding, so they can become very efficient and focused on what they do. The same happened here in this country. Another element that is very important in the Israeli story is the culture, like you said. So on top of the circumstances, we have a culture that is a very diversified culture, that is a culture of acting and doing and being very proactive. We say in Hebrew, tachlis, we just do things. And add to that, so doing and that drive to do and act and create on one hand, adding to that an element of thinking of the future. Mm-hmm. So as you're building, you know, your country, your home, your society, you don't just think of the past, but you're actually building for the future. And when you build for the future, you try to do your best to build for the good, to correct things that don't work well, okay? And so all that energy is driven into doing better, doing good. And now the third element is how do we do that? And that's where technology actually, I think, joins the conversation. Specifically in the Israeli military, which plays a very critical role in the Israeli society, the only advantage that we have is technology and our focus on technology. And so with that in mind, using technology and leveraging technology and innovative technology and coming up with innovative solutions, bringing that mindset into a variety of industries, such as healthcare and agriculture and food technology and cyber and any industry you would think about, okay, anything. all of these components together create a very entrepreneurial society, which is based on using technology to solve big problems. Now, the only element that's missing is, because these are all circumstances, the only element is missing is the spirit, is the glue, okay? The fluid that connects everything together. And that's where I think that the mindset of chutzpah, or the mindset of the soft skills that exist here in Israel, comes to play from a very, very young age. So it's how we address these challenges and how we address these problems and how we try to solve them that has created such an innovative country.
That's awesome, because it's interesting how things get mixed, you know, the discipline of the military experience with innovation. Sometimes they're seen as opposite, you know, discipline and innovation, and maybe they can walk together. When there's a will of make things new and overcome the challenges of being a new country with so many difficulties. Brazil, we are a big country, but we still have our difficulties, and it's easy to put the blame in some people, to put the blame on the government, and instead of trying to be more innovative and overcome these problems that we all have as countries all over the world. So I think William wants to ask a question now. Am I correct?
Oh, correct. Thanks. INBAL, an issue that I was very curious about visiting Israel Innovation Ecosystem is about Israel Innovation Authority. Can you tell us a little about the role in the ecosystem?
Of the Innovation Authority?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So, you know, when we think about an ecosystem, which is, by the way, a term that comes from nature, okay? In nature, an ecosystem is a system of elements that create some sort of balance together. And that term has been used now in different meanings as well, including the tech ecosystems around the world. So in the Israeli tech ecosystem, we do see the presence of different elements, different components, such as the universities, the investors, the entrepreneurs, the researchers, the multinationals, the big companies, and also the government. So the Israeli government, through the Innovation Authority and other different arms, has actually taken at different stages in the maturity of the Israeli ecosystem, different roles. In the early 90s, so some 30 years ago, okay, the role that it took was actually to bring money into Israel, because there was a lot of innovation happening here. There were startups, but there was not enough funding. And the role that the government took was to incentivize foreign investors to come to Israel. That has really succeeded. And fast forward today, Israel attracts more venture capital per capita than any other country on the globe. And 85% of the investment in startups and tech companies in Israel is foreign investment. So that step, these measures that the government took 30 years ago are actually today really mature and very successful. Today, the role that the Innovation Authority takes is different, because the needs of the ecosystem are different. The main challenge that we have today, you'd be surprised, well, we have two challenges in the tech ecosystem in Israel. There's enough funding. There is enough presence of multinationals working in Israel. There are very good universities here. All of that is in place. What we actually lack are two things, or three things. One, that the government cannot arrange or take care of, and that is the size of the market. like we said at the beginning, it's a country of 9 to 10 million people. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny market, and this will not change. So Israeli innovation always targets global markets overseas from day one. Brazil being a great example for Israeli innovation, right? For Israeli solutions as a market. But the second and third challenges that the Israeli ecosystem have are around talent, actually. And not the quality of the talent, but the quantity. So today in Israel's tech ecosystem, we have a shortage. We have 15,000 positions that are open with no people, not enough people to actually step into these positions. And so what the government is trying to do through the Innovation Authority mainly is to create different programs to incentivize, again, different groups that are underrepresented in the tech ecosystem. What are those groups? Some are groups that are probably also underrepresented in Brazil. Mainly women. Okay, so one of the main groups that is underrepresented in the tech ecosystem in Israel, similar to almost anywhere else in the world, are women. The three other groups are people over the age of 45. They're also underrepresented in the tech space, in the tech ecosystem. And then two groups that are very unique to the Israeli society. The ultra-Orthodox, on one hand, which is a minority group in the society. And on the other hand, the Israeli Arabs, another unique minority in the Israeli society. And those four groups could solve, by the way, each one of them by itself could solve the shortage of human capital that we have in the tech ecosystem. So back to your question, the role that the Innovation Authority today in 2021 is taking in Israel is to encourage more talent from these underrepresented groups to step into the tech ecosystem and take an active role in different positions.
Very, very, very good, INBAL. Let's talk about education. I think this is the word of the future. What can you say about the value of education for the Israelis from childhood until adulthood? What you can say about this?
So I think that it's actually a very dual approach. On one hand, generally speaking, education matters a lot here. So we put a lot of emphasis on knowledge and education in different ways, and it matters a lot. On the other hand, we are not strict with formal education the way we know it from the past. And what do I mean by that? I think the main driver is to be knowledgeable, to learn more, to evolve, to develop, but not necessarily through the formal structures that we've been familiar with in the past centuries. So education in Israel is public. We have free education from the age of 3 till the age of 18, and even university in Israel, the best educational universities, institutions in Israel are public universities, not private universities. And we do encourage our children, of course, to go to school and to study and to get their degrees and their diplomas. However, I think we see more and more openness to a different type of learning. It's not just about transfer of knowledge, but education here is a more broad, I think, approach. It's not just about what you learn in terms of, again, knowledge and data. It's more about values and how you learn and with whom you learn what you learn, okay, and how much you open yourself to learning in general. And that is, I think, the future. Because when I think of my kids, I don't really know how their future will look like, or even your students, your undergraduates. We don't really know how our economies and what the future of the world will look like in 15 or 20 years. We don't really know. And the past year of COVID-19 has been, has proved everywhere in the world that there is more uncertainty than certainty. So how do you prepare in education for this unknown future if it's unknown? And that's where I think the focus of soft skills, rather than just pure knowledge, is becoming very critical.
Enjoying this, INBAL, what you can say about the experience of EDF, Israeli Defense Force? Because here in Brazil, it's different, the service of the, what you can say about the entrepreneur, the mindset of the people that go out from the EDF.
So the Israeli military, the Israel Defense Force, is actually the opposite of what you have in mind, of what anyone has in mind when they think of a military organization. Now, if I would ask you and you could answer live, everyone, and I would ask you, when you think of a military organization, what comes to your mind? The words that usually come are structure and hierarchy, command, orders, formality, right? These are the things that we think about when we think of a military organization. The Israeli military is the opposite of that. It's the opposite of that because of necessity, because of the fact that it is small, very small in size, but it has unbelievable challenges to address. And the people who are responsible for solving these challenges are 18, 19-year-old kids. They don't have the experience or the knowledge of a 35-year-old general. But still, they are the ones that the military is based on. So with that in mind, you could say, okay, so if they don't have the knowledge, we will tell them what to do and they will do it. No, they won't, because they are 18 and their motivation comes from a different place. They want to make a mark. They want to be important. They want to make decisions by themselves and to be responsible. And they are very creative. So the Israeli military, understanding that, is actually a great stage, a great setting, a great environment for entrepreneurial, creative ideas. Because we have no other choice but to rely on these young 18, 19, 20-year-old non-professional soldiers to be the professional soldiers. And with that in mind and understanding that they are capable of doing that, they're given stage to actually perform at their best. And this is why the Israeli military is so innovative. And this is why so many entrepreneurs are coming out of the Israeli military. Because at the Israeli military, they were given a lot of freedom to come up with new ideas, to challenge authority, to think for themselves, to criticize in the military, to criticize. It's not that it is okay to criticize. They are expected. It's their duty to criticize. So it's all reversed, okay? And this is why so many entrepreneurs are coming out of the military, exactly because of that.
The same opportunity to the woman and to the men's.
So, to be fair, I'll say that almost equal. Definitely today more than in the past. And it's really almost equal, the same time today for men and women. And over 90% of the positions in the military are open for both. And the training is similar, and they actually train together and serve together. And in some units, just like 8200 where I served, which is again the intelligence unit of the Israeli military, you see women in all positions, in all, you know, departments, and they're 100% similar to men there, yes.
Very nice. Thank you for that. We have some questions from the audience. I think you already cleared most of them related to the communication, how what is important to start an innovation process. It's very interesting the way Israel, it brings me back to the immigrant era in Brazil, where people come to face challenges without getting government by their sides, by themselves, by their families, and they raise the country. So challenge, I think that this is one of the messages, the challenge that the society brings to us is that are where we get the forces to overcome this these difficulties and build up a new country. One of the things that I think that we can ask from you, because it's been very important for us, this conversation with such a world-renowned, innovative icon. Okay, so what is the advice that you may give to our students, faculties, and to the IMED itself from what the advice from our near future to bring this innovative culture more and more to our communities?
Okay, so I'll say three things. Okay, three in the price of one. The first thing that I'll say is somehow connected to the past year, to the pandemic and the chaos that, you know, we are all facing around the world. In my view, and I saw in one of the comments at the beginning of our conversation that someone wrote that both Brazil and Israel have a lot of balagan in them, a lot of messiness and chaos. I see that as an opportunity. I see that as an advantage. I think the more you are used as an individual, as a society, as a group, as a country, to deal with chaos, the more elastic and flexible and agile you are. And the past year has proven that the best entrepreneurs, the best business leaders in the world are those who are capable of adapting very rapidly to changing circumstances. And they are not afraid. Oops, I'm sorry, my dog is barking, everyone. Apologies.
Okay.
Just a second.
It's fine, don't worry. It's okay.
I apologize, it's the dogs. Okay.
It's
Israelis also have chutzpah.
Okay.
We'll continue. So chaos and the ability to adapt to it and to not be stuck and freeze is incredibly important. And my view on chaos is that don't try to go back to, you know, the order that you knew from before the chaos, but actually use the existing chaos as an opportunity to create a new order. I saw that you have Lego as one of your partners. So just think of it like a huge box of Lego. You know, when you open a Lego box and you have those instructions into how to build, I don't know, an airplane or a home or whatever it is. But once you build it and you break it, you could either rebuild the plane or the home, the model, or you could just do with these Lego bricks something completely new. And this is what I'm thinking when I say create a new order from chaos. So this is my first advice. My second advice is to actually focus on, and for everyone, the students, the educators, the professors, everyone, to actually focus on what you don't know and not on what you know. So we are used definitely at, you know, school and then university to think that knowledge is power, and the more we know, the stronger we are, or the better we know. I actually think that the more we are aware of what we don't know, or of the fact that we don't know, the more chances we have to develop. If I only focus on what I know, I'm stuck in the past. If I realize that there's so much more that I don't know, now there's so much opportunities ahead of me. So that's my second tip, to keep asking questions, to always focus on what you don't understand, on what you don't know. And the third thing is, we have an expression in Hebrew, which is, "Ihye beseder," everything will be okay. Now, people always criticize that because they think that, you know, when you say, oh, everything will be okay, you're kind of dismissing the problem. And you're becoming this passive person that is waiting for things to be okay. But actually, for Israelis, saying everything will be okay means that they will make things okay. I'm saying everything will be okay, but I'm not waiting for someone to arrange things for me. And again, as an individual, as a group, as a team, as a society, you choose the size. Everything will be okay. Yes, we are optimistic. Entrepreneurs and innovators must be optimistic. If you're pessimistic, it's just impossible to be an entrepreneur, a pessimistic entrepreneur. But the optimism is not because you rely on an external force to arrange things for you, like the government or your parents or your boss. The optimism is because you understand that you have the force inside you to make things better. And that is my third tip. Be optimistic, but create the world, the micro world that you want to live in.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that it's going to be one of the milestones in IMED Innovation Hub, your participation. We're trying to get more and more this innovative ecosystem in all our educational levels. Okay, and this message to our faculties, students, are really, really important. I don't know if anyone wants to ask more questions. I don't know if I have some questions from the audience. We have one asking about the government resources, an idea in millions of dollars, how much is invested in education in Israel?
So much little. By the way, when you look at the PISA results, Israel is doing very bad, not good at all. So the formal results at PISA and in other ratings in education, the salaries of the teachers, we have on average 33 or 34 students per class. The formal way that you look, the formal things that you look at in Israeli education, they're not good. And yet we have a lot of Nobel laureates and we have so much entrepreneurship and innovation in technology. So the answer has to be in somewhere else.
Yes, it's good to hear that, because it's easy to complain about life difficulties and put the blame on the government, put the blame on everyone. It's being very enlightening this moment, because what you're saying is that we need to change our behavior, or the way we think about life and the way we think about our future. It's time to roll the sleeves and get to work.
Exactly.
Change the environment. So
exactly. Yes, it's our responsibility, each and every one of us. Exactly.
Thank you very much for that. I don't know if William or Eduardo wants to do some want to talk about this or ask any questions? Marcia?
Wow, I'd like to thank you so much. You are empathic. I think that you are the sample of the chutzpah. Here in Brazil, we are talking too much about the vulnerability of the people. We need to show us. We can't stay outside and back of the scenario. We need to show. And I know that chutzpah, a little about chutzpah is this. In Brazil, you say ousadia. It's like we need to say what we think. You need to ask what we want. The finish question to you: what tip can you give for us, a Brazilian creative mindset? What can I do? Can we do here in Brazil? We have a mindset, a creative mindset here in Brazil, but what we need to do more to success of this.
So unfortunately, I'm not an expert to Brazil, and my knowledge is somehow limited. So with that in mind, I completely agree with you that there's a very creative, high energy, right? Dynamics in Brazil, from what I've saw from my experience in the country. I think it's about realizing that each and every one of you, more than in other places in the world, you already possess the chutzpah mindset in a way. It's just about being aware and practicing, and maybe not being afraid of making mistakes. I think daring, okay, if I understood the word you said in Portuguese, how did you say it?
Ousadia. It's
like oser in French, I think, right? To dare.
Yes, to dare.
To dare. Exactly. It's about taking risks and understanding that the price of mistake is usually not as big as we think it is. And again, regardless of your age, regardless of your position. So that's one thing. And the second thing maybe is also to understand that it's critical to create support groups, support teams, and to do it together. So you don't have to do things by yourself, never. It's always about creating support organisms, okay, depending on the case, that operate both as, additional minds, but also as a comforting and a trusted environment where you can dare and you're not judged. I do think that you all possess those skills that I talk about. It's just about being aware to them and practicing them and giving freedom and just using them.
So here in Brazil, we have a lot of natural research, more than Israel. And then when we say about the technology, we say about just the digital transformation. But I know that in Israel, more than digital transformation, we can say about digital humanization. And this is the difference that we need to do. We need to put more value to the people in Brazil. And then they can say what they want, what they want to ask. This is the difference. But thank you very much, INBAL. Another time.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, unfortunately, we are on time. We could spend the whole day talking about the topic. So fantastic. Thank you, INBAL, for your explanation today and for the insights in your book. Thank you so much. In closing, we would like to leave the doors open for future projects. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon at IMED. Thank you, thank you.
And here, I just added my name for everyone if you want to connect on LinkedIn or on other social media. And just feel free. I'm relatively available.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
that. It was
Goodbye.
a beautiful moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Have a wonderful evening there. Okay.
I hope so.
Thank you once again and see you soon for sure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.